Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about cerebrum. Cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. It occupies the anterior and the middle cranial fossas and the supratentorial part of the posterior cranial fossa. The cerebral hemisphere have complicated folds, right, that you can see here. These are known as the gyri, and these gyri are separated by the grooves in between that are called as the sulcus or the sulci. The appearance of the sulci and the gyri increases the surface area for the neurons many times without increasing the size of the brain. There is a free flow of information in the central nervous system between the two hemispheres through the commissural fibers, between various parts of one hemisphere through the association fibers, and between upper and lower parts through the projection fibers, right? Now these fibers, they are nothing but they are the bundles of the axons which connects the different parts of the cerebrum. Right, commissural fibers, right, as we have talked that it connects the two hemispheres, right? It will connect the two cerebral hemispheres because both the hemispheres does not have the same functions, right? They have different areas of the brain that will serve the different functions. So that connections is through the commissural fibers. Then association fibers, they are the bundles of the axons within the brain that unite different parts of the same cerebral hemisphere, right? Within the cerebral hemisphere, the connection is through the association fibers. And the projection fibers, it consists of both the afferent and the efferent fibers that couple the brain with the spinal cord. They are the myelinated nerves that are arranged in the columns within the white matter surrounding the grey matter, right? So that is the projection fibers, right? We will also see the diagrams of all this projection fibers and all. Here you can see a diagram of the association fibers, right? We are also going to learn it as a different topic, right? And this is the projection fibers. Coming back to the original picture. Okay. Now next we will take the features of the cerebrum. The cerebrum, as you can see in this diagram, it is made up of two cerebral hemispheres which are incompletely separated from each other by the median longitudinal fissure, right? You can see a huge median longitudinal fissure that is separating the two cerebral hemispheres. The two hemispheres, they are connected to each other across the median plane by the corpus callosum, right? Now in this also we have seen this diagram. You can see this is called as the corpus callosum, and this corpus callosum, it connects both the cerebral hemispheres, right? We'll see one more diagram to identify it still clearly. Yes, you can see in this diagram. See, this is how the commissural callosal fibers, it is written here, right? So that is the corpus callosal fibers that is connecting the two cerebral hemispheres like this, and so it is said that they are incompletely separated from each other. Okay. Now as we have learned the different parts of the brain previously also, they all were having their cavities, right? Similarly, cerebrum also has its cavity in the form of the lateral ventricle. Okay. So here it is not shown in the diagram, but yes, each cerebral hemisphere, it has its own cavity that is called as the lateral ventricle. That also we are going to learn as a separate topic. The surface area of the cerebrum is around 2000 square centimeters. Now the external features of the cerebral hemisphere, if we see, it has three surfaces. The three surfaces are superolateral surface, medial surface, and inferior surface. Okay. Now here you can see the superolateral surface. this whole area that you can see, this is the superolateral surface. It is convex and is related to the cranial vault. Okay. Then the medial surface, right? In between this, right? This side, both the sides that surface is present, that is the medial surface, right? It is flat and vertical and is separated from the corresponding surface of the opposite hemisphere by the falx cerebri and the longitudinal fissure. Okay, so that will be the medial surface. And the another is the inferior surface. Now in inferior surface, again inferior surface is divided into two parts. Let's see. This is the medial surface and this is the inferior surface, right? This is diagram of the inferior surface. Inferior surface is very irregular and it is divided into an anterior part, the orbital part, here you can see the orange colored, and this posteriorly the purple colored that you can see is the tentorial part. The two parts are separated by the deep cleft called as the stem of the lateral sulcus, right? Here you can see the stem of the lateral sulcus that is separating the orbital part from the tentorial part, right? This both parts are on the inferior surface of the cerebrum, right? So three surfaces: superolateral, medial surface and inferior surface. Now borders, if we see, cerebrum, it has four borders. Superomedial border, first we will see. It is here, you can see in this diagram. This is the superomedial border. Now superomedial border, it separates the superolateral surface from the medial surface. Okay. Inferolateral border, it separates the superolateral surface from the inferior surface. So here will be the inferolateral border, right, that you can see. But this inferolateral border, again the anterior part of this border, it is called as the superciliary border. And there is a depression on the inferolateral border situated about 5 centimeters in front of the occipital pole, which is called as the pre-occipital notch, that you can see here, right? This is the pre-occipital notch, 5 centimeters distance from the occipital pole. Okay. Next is the medial orbital border. It separates the medial surface from the orbital surface, right? That you can see in the inferior surface diagram here, right? Here you can see this border on both the sides. This is the medial orbital border that you can see here, and this border that you identify here, right, that is the medial occipital border. This one, medial occipital border and medial orbital borders, right? Medial orbital border separates the medial surface from the this orbital surface, and medial occipital border separates the medial surface from the tentorial surface. Okay, so these are the four borders of the cerebrum. Next is the poles. There are three poles, right, that you can see in the previous diagram. Here you can see there is a frontal pole anteriorly, right? You have an occipital pole at the posterior end, and this is the temporal pole that you can see here. Temporal pole at the anterior end of the temporal lobe. Okay, so these three are the poles: frontal, occipital and temporal poles, right? Now next is the lobes of the cerebral hemispheres. Now each cerebral hemisphere, it is divided into 4 lobes: frontal, parietal, occipital and temporal lobes, right? Their position corresponds very roughly to that of the corresponding bones, right? You know the bones in the skull, all the 4 bones. So similarly will be the areas in the cerebrum also. The lobes are best appreciated on the superolateral surface. The sulci separating the lobes on this surface are: first is the central sulcus, right? For this we will see one better diagram. Here you can see in this diagram, you can see this is the frontal lobe, right? Now this is the central sulcus, right? Sulci are the grooves that are separating the gyri. Okay, so this is the central sulcus. It begins on the superomedial border of the hemisphere, a little behind the midpoint between the frontal and the occipital poles. It runs on the superolateral surface obliquely downwards and forwards and ends a little above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus or the lateral fissure, you can say, right? So this is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Okay, so it is ending a little above it, right? Once again I will speak. The central sulcus, it begins on the superomedial border of the hemisphere, a little behind the midpoint between the frontal and the occipital poles. It runs on the superolateral surface obliquely downwards and forwards and ends a little above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Next is the lateral sulcus. It is seen that the lateral sulcus separates the orbital and the tentorial parts of the inferior surface. Laterally, this sulcus reaches the superolateral surface, where it divides into anterior ascending and the posterior branches, right? Now this you can see in one more diagram. See here, this is the figure of the lateral sulcus. Okay, you can see now this lateral sulcus, again it is dividing into branches like this, 3 branches. One is coming anteriorly, that is called as the anterior ramus. One is going up, that is the ascending ramus, and one is going posteriorly and little above, right? That is the posterior ramus, that is the largest ramus of the lateral sulcus. Understood? Now again coming back to the original diagram, we will see here. Now this 3 branches of the lateral sulcus, the largest is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus that passes backwards and slightly upwards, right? It is going backwards and upwards over the superolateral surface. Okay, so that is all about the lateral sulci. Next is the parieto-occipital sulcus. It is a sulcus of the medial surface. Actually, you cannot see here on the superolateral surface, but yeah, the part of it, right? You can see here the parieto-occipital sulcus. Its upper end cuts off the superomedial border about 5 centimeters in front of the occipital pole, right? So here you can see the parieto-occipital sulcus. And the last that you can see is the preoccipital notch. It is an indentation on the inferolateral border, right here, about 5 centimeters in front of the occipital pole. The division is completed by drawing one line joining the parieto-occipital sulcus to the preoccipital notch, right? Now what we are going to do, we are going to draw the imaginary lines. Means first imaginary line from the parieto-occipital sulcus to the preoccipital notch, right? This can be best appreciated in the original diagram here. Yes. Here you can see this is the first imaginary line they have shown, that is joining the parieto-occipital sulcus to the preoccipital notch, right? And the second, another line continuing backwards from the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus to meet the first line, right? This is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. We are drawing a line from that to the first line, right? Now, if you draw these 2 imaginary lines, then the boundaries of each lobe will be now very clear to understand, right? So this way, this 4 sulci, the central sulcus, the lateral sulcus, parieto-occipital sulcus, preoccipital notch, and the 2 imaginary lines that we have seen, right? That will form the boundaries of all the lobes of the cerebrum. And now we can say this is the frontal lobe, this is parietal, occipital and temporal lobes. Okay, so that is about the lobes of the cerebrum. Next, the last part for today is insula, right? Some also say that insula is another lobe, right? But actually insula, it is a small region of the cerebral cortex that is located deep in the lateral sulcus, right? We'll see one diagram for it also. here you can see. If you separate the frontal and the parietal lobes from the temporal lobes, you can see one another area is present here, and that is called as the insula. Okay, insula lies deep in the floor of the lateral fissure, surrounded by the circular sulcus and overlapped by the adjacent cortical areas. Right, these cortical areas, they are called here as operculars. Okay. Now, insula comprises the frontal operculum between, here you can see, this is the frontal operculum between the anterior and the ascending ramus of the lateral sulcus. Frontoparietal operculum between the ascending and the posterior ramus of the, posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. And the temporal opercula between the posterior ramus, here you can see this one. The temporal opercula between the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus formed by the superior temporal gyri. Right? We will learn later about the superior temporal gyri. Just now remember, this is the temporal opercula. Okay. Now, insula, it is pyramidal area, apex near the anterior perforated substance. Right? So, it is pyramid in shape and its apex is near the anterior perforated substance. Anterior perforated substance, it is a bilateral irregularly quadrilateral area in front of the optic tract and behind the olfactory trigon. Right, that also we are going to take later on in detail. The three zones are seen here. Afferents reach here from the ventral posterior nucleus of the thalamus, medial geniculate body and the part of the pulvinar, and efferents reach from the areas 5 and 7, olfactory area, limbic system and amygdala. Now, what is the role of the insula? What is the role of the insular cortex here? So, the anterior insular cortex, this one, it is related to the olfaction, that is smell and taste. And the posterior part, the posterior insular cortex, that is related to the language function. Okay, this is how insula is important. We stop here today. So, this is all about the introduction to the cerebrum, and next lecture we will be taking about all the sulci and the gyri of the cerebrum. Bye for now.